had to lie to my coaches because they was tripping. So I had to lie to them and say, well, I'm going over here to do something with my family. But really, I was training with Tom Shaw, and I was on ESPN. So they saw me on ESPN, and they was like, you was over here training. You know what I'm saying? So I came back to Fort Wayne. They saw me on TV, and they was up in arms. They was heated. Well, politically, you know, I had a strong brand because I went to high school here, and then I had a strong name in the community, and I thought a little bit different than other kids that played with me, and my mind was at a different level. So some of the coaches were intimidated by me. You know, I could go into a meeting and sit down with a coach, and you just couldn't talk to me like no any old kid. You know, I understood what was going on, especially being a minority. They didn't like that. You know, I could sit down. So the minute that they, in spring, when I had just came back from New Orleans, came back to spring, they was like, oh, superstar, you know, all this stuff. And so I come back. I tore a ligament in my ankle. And I was a running back. I was a scat back. I was about, maybe we'll talk about how much lighter I was, but I was a lot lighter. So, you know, I could move. Well, I couldn't move no more. And then I knew on me that there was pressure, so I was trying to rush back. And it got worse. So came to a point where I found out in my mind, where my head was, I couldn't play like I could think in my head. You know, I couldn't do what I used to do anymore. So when I came back from New Orleans, I go back. I took notes on Tom Shaw. I took notes on it. I was praying on it, and I took notes. And I was like, man, that would be a great way to minister to athletes. You know, I'd be a great way to pull kids in for training, something that, you know, because in Indiana you don't have it, Midwest you don't have it. I said that'd be a great way to pull kids in and minister to them. So I came back to my business partner now. Well, I played high school ball. He's a doctor in physical therapy. Went to the University of Indianapolis. Certified athletic trainer, CSCS guy. So I went to him and said, man, you know, we need to start doing some training. I said, I'm going to teach you everything I learned, but you have the knowledge and the wisdom on how to do it for the body, and let's take it to another level. So what we did was we started doing speed camps in the city. And I was still in college. So I was in college, and we started doing these speed camps, and I brought teammates, had high school kids, and what we would do is we do a speed camp, all the stuff I learned out there as we were still learning it. And one of the things I want to talk, three things I want to talk about today is vision, belief, and I want to talk about passion. And I believe that in one of the books I'm reading right now, one of the books I've read, I got my staff, Cody's on my staff here, I got my staff reading it, is John Maxwell's Talent is Never Enough. A very good book. And it talks about how to protect your talent. It talks about how to lift your talent. It's how to believe in your talent. And so one of the things it talks about is so many people, yes, it's important to have a plan. But I can step on the field to play with somebody who has a plan all day, but I got more passion than them. I'm probably going to beat them. Passion can take you a long way. So before I even had the vision, even where I had the proper plan, I had a passion for it. And so my passion was able to take me a long way before I even had a plan. I just wanted to serve and just feel a need. Because you talk about what's your passion, you always talk about what do you cry about, what do you sing about. You know, what is that thing that really drives you? And I got sick of hearing people talk about athletes all the time, but wasn't nobody making a difference. You know, one of the books I've read, I used to go to one of my previous churches, and when I was young in my faith, I had a very charismatic pastor. And he could preach, and I got caught up in him, you know, instead of the word. And it was one of them things that I learned where, when I was reading one of John Maxwell's books, I think it was 21 Irrefutable Laws, one of the things is talking about the law of the process. And it talked about when you want to get motivated, go to an event. When you want to change your life, implement a process. So I began to almost get turned off by geek people. The kids say these days, people that they hype you up and they say, I almost got turned off by it because I want knowledge. You know, I want wisdom because then I can apply that to change my life. You know, and so many athletes, they go to these camps like we're about to do on Saturday. And so they do all these camps, they go to these things, but it's a one-day event. You go see Ray Lewis and he amps you up and you hear it and then you go back to doing what you was doing yesterday. You know, but what we do at AWP, we develop the camps, and what happens, we do speed camps, And then we do character development every Friday. And we do ministry with them. And we'll develop them. And my grandfather was my idol being raised. He just died this past year. And, you know, my father, who I respect, I love my dad. But the reality of the fact is my dad, I get a lot of my gifts and my talents from him, speaking and different things. But he used it for other reasons. But my dad, you know, he would talk. He would talk and he would say things and do whatever. But my grandfather never talked. But he owned his own cement company. Got up every day and worked hard. Never talked back, never disrespected my grandmother. All he cared about was singing in the choir. I watched him live his life, you know? And so my biggest thing for me is that with the kids, I want them to see me live my life. You know what I'm saying? I want them to see me pursue relentlessly what God has called me to do. And as they can see me do that, then they can believe that they can do it. But I'm not sitting here trying to say something and then I don't live it. Now, I'm not saying I'm perfect, because I'm not. And I think, you know, being genuine in the fact that I got flaws as well, but being able to push them in that direction. So we started moving. We started blowing up, doing these camps, and I got to college, and I went to Youth for Christ, where I was going to church at the time. My pastor was connected with Youth for Christ, and I went to them because they're a Christian organization. I said, well, I want to partner with you guys. I got this vision. I want to come to you. I'm going to do this, and I'm all amped up. I'm young. And I got into it, and I found that we were doing this. Because my vision was one thing, but they had their paradigm already set. And it didn't meet, you know. So I was making a decent little salary over there, doing my thing, growing it. And my wife just had a baby. We had just bought a house. And they come to me and they go, Mike, because I'm passionate, you know, and I'm not, you know, I'm doing what God called me to do. That's it, you know. So, and some people get turned off by that. I'm probably like 20, I don't know what I was, you know, in age-wise. So I'm going here. They go, Mike, funding-wise and so forth, we're going to have to cancel that program, you know, long-term, you know, or whatever. We're going to go a different direction. They gave me a 2 months in advance, whatever. Well, we're about to start our summer camp that we've been building for. Biggest camp ever. My wife's pregnant. She don't work. She at home, you know. And so my wife goes, what you going to do? I was strong in my faith right then, boy. I was strong. I said, I'm going to keep doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm going to do what God called me to do. So we're going to have the best camp we ever had. I wasn't even looking for a job. Wasn't even looking for a job. My wife was, she was cool for a little bit. You know, she trying to play. We on different walks in our faith, right? So my wife is like, I'm going to be cool for a minute. She was like, you know, it's another month. That severance pay is going to go through. She's like, what's happening, you know? And I was just like, man, I believe in God. I said, I'm about to go harder than I've ever went, and I'm going to serve these kids, and we're going to go hard. So we did that. The relationships I built going back to high school, a surgeon. Now, when I came out of college, one of the things I was going to do, I had all my plans, my book, I still have it. I was like, I'm going to run my business. I'm going to mind my business. I'm going to do my day job, but I'm going to mind my business during the day, right? So I'm going to be a pharmaceutical sales rep, right? And then I'm going to go do this. So then that was my game plan. All through college, I'm studying. I'm doing preceptorships. I'm studying people, shadowing guys. Well, if you know anything about pharmaceutical sales, and you go in the pharmaceutical sales industry, if you study it, there's pharmaceutical sales, but then you got orthopedic reps that work with surgeons, sell medical devices, way another level of money, six figures. Okay, so you know, usually pharmaceutical rep you're gonna get 50, whatever. So I was making $30,000 a year doing what I was doing, Youth for Christ, and we was on that thing, and I was like, I'm about to serve. I'm gonna do my thing with the kids. So I'm doing what I'm doing. Surgeon I had a relationship with since high school comes to me and goes, hey Mike, I got a medical company that's looking for a rep. This was like 2 weeks left. I had no money, nothing. He goes, they have a, you know, they want to interview you. Tripled my salary, right? Triple what I was making before. Now that right there, what I call that the perpetual fuel. You know, that lifted my faith and my hope to a whole nother level. My believing in my faith was like, yo, Okay. And I was like, I trusted in God. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. So, and then he blessed me on it. So I'm grinding. I'm grind mode. You talk about what you have to go through when you have a vision and you believe in your vision. This is what I'm going back to, your vision. I believed in my vision the whole time. I didn't know how I was going to get there. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know how God was going to get. It didn't matter. It is exactly right. It didn't matter how I was going to get there because I believed in the vision. Okay? So I'm doing these little camps. So I'm making cheese, and I'm working in trauma. I'm working with knees and surgeons. It was to the point where I was going so hard, I had a pager on my hip. At this time, I was coaching high school football, doing my company, doing different things. And I would get paged at 3 a.m. in the morning. Have to run, jump, go to the hospital, it's a surgery, do whatever, you know, be in surgery all day. As soon as I got out, then I'm running to my company. And I'm trying to, we don't even have a facility yet. We just going to high schools, doing this, doing that. I'm coaching high school ball, right? So I ended up quitting high school ball because I was required to grow my company. And that's one thing I learned. I was a jack of all trades and a master of nothing for a while because I had that entrepreneurial spirit. I wanted to do so much stuff I couldn't focus. I always get on my best friend about that. You know, my best friend, you know, he's gifted in a lot of areas too, but then he won't do too much. And so I prayed about it, and I was like, you know what? This is what I'm called to do. I'm going to give 110% to what I'm doing right now, and that's it. Colin Cowherd, I listen to Colin Cowherd on the radio a lot on ESPN. And one of the things Colin Cowherd said one time, it was awesome. He said, when you want to be an expert in your field, you need to spend 10 years studying your field. Now that's kind of extreme, but he said, you got to study your field. So what I did was, I said, all right, listen, this is my passion. I'm anointed. I'm gifted at this. I'm special. I said, I'm going to study this. I'm going to study what everybody else do. I studied the whole industry. And then what I did was, I didn't want to be a self-employed business owner. I want to be a business owner, right? I ain't trying to do all the work. So I began to develop a team. So I ended up developing people, which is the hardest thing in the world. Okay? So I'm developing a team of people that they can use my company as a vehicle to fulfill their passion and serve people, but at the same time be blessed. So the surgeon that actually got me the job, I went to him and went to another mentor of mine, Dr. Al McGee, in the area, okay, and went to him and said, look, I got an investor. So I went to the orthopedic group and I said, I need y'all to invest into my company. This is what I'm doing. I'm generating $30,000 of revenue a year based on doing these little summer camps, but I believe if I have this resource and I have a facility which is going to take me this much capital to be lean, then I can do this. Well, what I ended up doing was, I used to have so many people that came to me early on, go, Mike, do you want to be a non-for-profit? You want to be a business? They asked me, they said, what do you want to do? You trying to be a business? You trying to serve kids? What are you trying to do? So I had to pray about that, study that. And the biggest transition I had was that I started off in the inner city and helping a lot of kids do a lot of things for free. And the biggest thing I had to learn was when I had to go to a standpoint of charging people for what my service was worth. He talked about adding value, right? My value is strong, okay? Because I'm an expert at what I do based on experience and knowledge and wisdom. So when I was coming out, we were some great players, but wasn't nobody getting scholarship. All of a sudden, a whole lot of people getting scholarships. We're about to have a camp on Sunday where there's going to be over 20 college coaches from across the country here. There's athletes from across the Midwest coming. Why? Because the relationships have been built over years and sowing seed. So anyway, so what we did was we built a facility. We got a facility now, 8,000 square foot facility. We're working with youth kids, high school kids, NFL players, MLB right now. Jared Parker pitching for the Oakland A's. We got 3 guys in the NFL right now. And what we do, if I broke stuff up, the biggest thing is we have purpose calls every Sunday night. We got this call on Sunday night called the Purpose Call, where it's an inspirational call where kids call into a conference call at 9 p.m. every night, and we have a motivational speaker or NFL player